The general election is already beginning. It is just February 26th, but we're zooming right along. So let's dig into all this with political analyst Calvin Dark. He's also president and co-founder of RC Communications. Calvin, if we could just work our way maybe left to right. President Biden, we just heard right there, he has this quandary. Maybe he doesn't love Benjamin Netanyahu personally that much, but he definitely supports Israel. The majority of Americans support Israel, certainly over Hamas. But you have these progressives, Arab Americans, young Americans, who want a ceasefire now. What should President Biden do?
Well, good to be here, Chance. He's in a very, very sticky situation, but it's a lot more complicated than I think a lot of folks, particularly the ones we just heard from in Michigan, are calling it. You know, for example, there is no uncommitted. There is either Biden or Trump. And if there is not a vote for Biden, it will be for Trump. So that's a reality. It's also a reality that, as one of the people said that we just heard from, this is beyond a political issue. This is a moral, ethical issue for many of those voters. And when that comes into play, Biden would have to change his policy to even think about winning their support back. But here's the third factor that I don't know if they've thought about. Let's say, for example, with this demonstration vote in Michigan this week, that sends a message to the White House and Biden does substantially change his approach. Well, then he may lose support from those who think his approach is what it should be. So it's very, very complicated. It's not as simple as sending him a message and then him changing policy to get the votes of the Arab American community.
Yeah, and it's not just a constituency of Jewish voters. You know, a lot of Americans feel very strongly that, you know, Israel would have to abide right next door, a terror group that says that they're going to attack them again and again and again until they're annihilated. And like, you know, the president's in a very bad situation here. But let's say he does see lower than expected numbers in Michigan tomorrow. He's the incumbent. He has all the energy of the party behind him, it seems. Does it really matter if these people air their grievances?
Yes, it matters. To be frank, I think that come November, most of those voters, even if they have to hold their nose, are going to vote for Biden, realizing that if they don't support Biden, that is a vote for Trump, who many of the Arab American community realize would be a worse option for the causes they support. But in the short term, if this does send a message, for example, if there are lots of uncommitted voters or Biden doesn't get the support that he would expect from Michigan, it sends a kind of morale message about Biden's campaign to add it to the list of things that he's got to deal with in a relatively short amount of time after his age, the economy, immigration, and other issues. So it will send a message to the Biden campaign. We have to see how they're going to respond to it.
Yeah, and probably not going to entice, let's say he stands firm on Israel, would it entice uncommitteds or Republicans to jump over and say, this is a really principled guy? You know, a lot of those voters are pretty committed to Trump at this point. So let's work our way to the right then. You advise a lot of candidates, Calvin. Would you tell Nikki Haley it's time?
I would. And, you know, I've thought a lot about what I would say to Nikki Haley, not that she asked me, but what I would tell her is her message of electability, that, you know, kind of strategic, pragmatic vote makes a lot of sense. But Republican voters who support Trump know that. If they wanted to make a strategic vote, if they wanted to vote on electability, they wouldn't be supporting a nearly 80-year-old, 4 times indicted former president who lost the last election, who wants to run against the person that beat him in the last election. What Nikki Haley should understand is that Trump voters don't focus on winning. Trump voters focus on supporting Trump in the hopes that he can win the election. And that's a very important distinction, why she's not seeing the support that I think she otherwise would see.
So, Calvin, former President Trump, I want to make sure I touch on him. He was speaking with a group of black conservatives a few days ago, and he said these indictments you just mentioned, his mugshot, actually makes him more popular with black voters, that they've seen the injustices of the system. They kind of, you know, I don't know, will sympathize with him or in some way, you know, see themselves, or I don't know. I don't know what his analysis was there, but he said it would do it. Analysts were in a tizzy. Do you think persuadable black voters are actually upset about this?
I don't think there's enough persuadable black voters for Trump for it to make a really big difference. But I think most African Americans, and I'll speak for myself, it just reiterated a lot of the racist rhetoric that we've heard from Trump, because you don't have to really dig too deep. He associates Black people with sneakers, crime, and mugshots. And by saying that, I think that he misses a very important lesson about elections. He didn't win last time because he got less votes. If he wants to win this time, he has to get more votes. And if he's not doing something to bring people in, rather pushing people out who might consider voting for him, that's a recipe for losing. And he doesn't seem to be anywhere close to changing that approach.
All right, political analyst Calvin Dark. We got all the way across the spectrum today, Calvin. All right, thank you.
Thank you.